Warning, this video contains minor spoilers.
Hi.
Necrophilia. This VN has zombies and sex. And sex with a zombie. I don't know how to describe it better. Okay, it's a story that follows our protagonist, namely Yusuke Takemura, who became bedridden for several days due to a fever after experiencing getting bitten by a zombie. Then he miraculously recovered because he's the protagonist, duh, and he found out that the world has turned to shit due to a zombie apocalypse. Despite the dire situation, he discovered a certain condition of his. That is, the zombies not attacking him. So, what does he do with this advantage? Well, you can kind of guess what he does based on what I've said before. But play the damn game to find out more. The pragmatic and sly lucky bastard and the timid yet protective older sister. Alright, Yusuke. Personality-wise, I believe that he's a normal guy. Though sometimes a bit of an asshole. He starts off as a cautious and considerate person, willing to help out others in the early stages of the pandemic. Then, as he lives throughout the story, he becomes more and more selfish. He plans thoroughly with the advantage of his condition and starts to only consider situations that benefit him the most. It's not like he doesn't care for other survivors. It's just that he prioritizes his own survival more. Not that there's anything wrong with that, to be honest. It's understandable to see from his perspective, considering that civilization is now. And with his efforts to survive, which is human nature, also comes his desire to get relief, added by lust, which is also human nature. Since he's at it pretty easily, he gets horny at times. I mean, seriously, he even wanted to watch porn at some point. And due to his personality, he can get very straightforward. Like this. Speaking of which, his prey, Mitsuki Fujino. She's a cum dumpster. I mean, survivor. And a really desperate one at that, considering that she has two younger brothers that she needs to take care of. Mitsuki is a timid person, but she does get courageous if the situation arises, especially when it involves her brothers, being the responsible older sister as she should be. And due to her being desperate, she is willing to do whatever that is necessary for their survival, which proves advantages, of course, to our protagonist. You can already guess what she has to do for him, but well, she has her own integrity to keep, though eventually she gives in. In a way, she's like a tsundere, but thank God, she's a low-level tsundere. By the way, side characters. Mitsuki's two innocent younger brothers, this creepy and the corpse beauty. Guys, I have a confused boner now. What just happened? Also, there are other characters that make an appearance, but they don't matter as much to the plot. The main menu page looks like this, and is backed up by good background music. The config button gives you system config, screen config, and sound config.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Gallery, on the other hand, gives you the page for the CGs, scenes for the fun parts, and music page for the obvious. Storytelling is in NVL format, which is the best choice for this kind of genre. As for the English translation, I did not find any grammatical or spelling errors during my time reading, if I recall correctly. Good job. It is a short story, with my recorded playtime being 420. 4 hours and 20 minutes, whereas VNDB's is 6 hours and 16. Based on this runtime, I feel that the story is shorter than it needs to be, because it has an unusual story structure. Speaking of which, it is a kinetic visual novel. It is a linear plot without any choices to choose from, so just enjoy the ride, or rather, the read. And I've mentioned that the story has an unusual story structure. Now, let's take a look back at Freitag's pyramid, which is the blueprint on how a story should be based on. The undressing phase, the thrusting, the orgasm, the cuddling, and the lights out phase. In this VN, it's got the thrusting and orgasm phases throughout the story. And I can't believe I'm saying this. It's more than it needs to be. Which leads us to now, to my knowledge, there are 3 types of zombie stories. The that are serious and thrilling one, the dumb fun one that is really entertaining, and the one that has a shit ton of fan service. My favorite one out of the 3, by the way. I Walk Among Zombies has those that are serious and thrilling moments, but also has a shit ton of fan service. The story has a pretty interesting concept of having the MC being quote-unquote invisible to the zombies, but it's mainly ruined by the pacing due to the excessive amounts of hate scenes. This VN has an unbalanced ratio between the fun parts and the serious ones. The world building is there, but it's lacking when compared to the number of sex scenes, which sabotages the pacing of the story. It starts off strong in the beginning, but then it downgrades in the middle, specifically because of the fan service. That being said, it does get better near the ending, where the story takes the MC's condition as the plot device and expands on it further, giving birth to potential antagonists that are really intriguing. The ending itself is also really good. It's better than what I thought it could be, and it does make me want to continue on to the next volume. As for character development, well, it exists, but barely. The MC does show his growth slightly throughout the story, and it's a bit more prominent near the ending, but hey, it's there. Mitsuki, on the other hand...
And no, getting better at sex does not count as personal development.
But... sex... Well... she pretty much stays the way she is, but she does grow affection towards Yusuke as the story progresses. However, it's kind of like the Stockholm Syndrome, but not exactly it, because the MC is not her captor. Well, not directly at least. Still, the frequent hate scenes give some development, and I'm okay with that. There are several things to like more than to dislike here. For example, I enjoy reading the story in its NVL format, limiting the CGs that show what's going on, particularly the ones that involve the disturbing moments. In a sense, it leaves you up to your imagination, and it's more horrifying to not be able to see what's happening.
And men fear most what they cannot see.
I also appreciate the nice editing of the music when it matters. For instance, when there's a mysterious scene going on, there was no music present, just sound effects. And it's great. It adds to the tension, to the thrill. Speaking of thrills, the VN doesn't shy away from being direct on which characters to kill off, especially in the beginning and near the end. I did feel upset when a particular character died, even though he didn't have an impact on me as much. And finally, what I like the most in the story is the parts near the ending. To be honest, it was a unique concept to tackle in a zombie story. There were some moments that let you see zombies in a different way, not just as mindless monsters, and the CGs in those particular moments, I was definitely absorbed into them. As for the bad stuff, the only major thing I hate is the pacing. And to make matters worse, it's ruined by a shit ton of hate scenes. I can't believe I'm saying this, seeing that my channel is pretty much about degeneracy. But honestly, the excessive fun parts in this VN ruins the story. The overall seriousness of the plot is overshadowed by the sex scenes, making it unbalanced, and the world building is not enough to match. I see two ways that you could actually improve on this VN, from my point of view. And oh my god, I never thought I'd be saying this, but either you lessen the fun stuff in accordance to the total playtime of the story itself, or you make the story a bit longer in order to expand on the seriousness and its world building. What I wanted from this VN was more gore, more dark stuff, more despair, and instead we got this fucking beautiful corpse that makes you start questioning your fetishes due to rising necrophilia because the MC bangs her. Speaking of banging, you get 8 scenes consisting of doggy, classic missionary, handjob, cowgirl, my favorite, and zombie bondage. You know what it reminds me of?
酔ったノリで入ったのが SM ルームでマジ助かった
2 scenes with the corpse beauty and the rest with Mitsuki. And the scenes are pretty good by themselves. Voice acting, sound effects, and overall flow. Though some people might disagree and think that the scenes are a bit too long by their own right. The problem with the scenes is that they're not appealing, particularly because of the plot in general. Due to the MC's condition, he's had it pretty easy during the pandemic, so the writing resorts to fan service in order to add in the story, which is fine, but it's just too much. It's like the MC waking up on a regular Saturday or something, feeling unbothered, and then goes like, yeah, I'm gonna bang that zombie chick downstairs cause why not? This of course feels a bit different during his battle with Mitsuki, but it's still generally how it is. Regardless, it doesn't really affect the quality of the scenes themselves. I do get turned on reading them, but I've never relieved myself to them. Mainly because I just don't like Mitsuki's character. That's enough nagging. Conclusion time. All in all, I Walk Among Zombies Volume 1 is the better than average visual novel. I wouldn't say that it's good, but it does have an interesting concept, especially near the ending. Way more intriguing than other zombie stories that I've experienced. Therefore, the Degen score from me is a 7. If you're a fan of zombie stories, or zombies in particular, then I would definitely recommend it, but if not, then it's not a must read. And since there's the volume 2, let me know if you guys want a video on that as well, or another VN request in my Discord server. That's all from me. Hope you guys can like and subscribe if the content is degenerate enough. Later, gents.